Hey, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun with Benzion. We're doing Kesubos stuff, Nundala number 54. We have an amazing shir for you today. We're going to be talking about Nundala and Aleph, where the Gemara has various suggestions of when the Tanai Kesuva, that the Almana, the widow, is entitled to Mizona. She's entitled to be fed from the estate. Now, she doesn't inherit her husband, but she's entitled to a Kesuba, right? Which is either Mana or Masai, and depending on Sula or Bula, she gets a Ksuba. And as long as she has the Ksuba, so she's entitled to get not only to stay in her husband's house, but also to be fed, to have her Mizonos, to have food, her grocery bills taken care of by the heirs to the Yerusha, by his sons or his daughters. They have to pay for the Almana. Now, there's various opinions how she can lose that ability of Mizonos. There's some opinion says if she's Mizana, she's a one-night stand with a man, or even if she puts on makeup, not even, putting on makeup is more of a sign. There's an opinion in the Gemara that people demand to go out with her and she agrees to go out with them, or agrees to get married to them, that's already, she loses it. But the Gemara Maskana is that there's only 4 ways for her to lose her Mizonos. One is she sells her Ksuba, or she makes her Ksuba mashkon, a collateral if she doesn't pay a loan, or she makes an apotiki, which basically says, I'm borrowing $100 from you, you'll collect your $100 from this land, which is the Ksuba land, right? The land for the Ksuba. So she's basically forfeiting her Ksuba. In the case of collateral, she's possibly forfeiting her Ksuba. That, whether she does these transactions in basin or outside of the basin, she loses her Mizonos. The Gemara has a 4th case where she comes to basin and demands her Ksuba. Once she demands her ksuba, even though she hasn't got paid her ksuba yet, she already loses mizonos. So, before the Gemara said any of these things, I would have said, right, the ksuba is what holds back the mizonos, right? She's entitled to the ksuba, to be paid the ksuba, right? We're going to learn, the next line in the Mishnah talked about, right, who the halacha is like, right? Couldn't the Yisomim give her the ksuba and pater themselves for the mizonos? So Rav says they could, Shmuel says they can't. Depends where you live, what the psak halacha is, but you see it's tied, the mazonos is tied to the ksuba. As long as she has the ksuba, she gets mazonos. Once you give her the ksuba, it's a question whether you have a right to give her the ksuba right away and pater from the mazonos. Once you give her the ksuba, then mazonos. The argument is adding, even if she, right, she didn't get paid the ksuba, she sold the ksuba, even if she didn't give up the ksuba yet, she made it as a collateral, right, then she could pay back the loan and she won't lose the ksuba. Or she just demands her ksuba and based in, she already lost mazonos. Why she lose mazonos? I would have said the reason is, once she has the ksuba, right, she's still married to the guy in a certain sense because she hasn't got paid yet. That's why she's allowed to stay in his house. She doesn't inherit him because the Torah doesn't say a woman doesn't inherit her husband. Husband inherits his wife. A wife doesn't inherit her husband. However, she's still married in a certain sense to him. As long as she's married, because of that ksuba, she's entitled to mazonos. But here we see that even if she doesn't actually get rid of the ksuba, or she just demands the ksuba, she already lost the mazonos. So, until they have the famous hakira, the famous way of analyzing something, they say, is it a siman or a siba? The ksuba is a siman or a siba? So, I would have thought that really it's a siba. The ksuba is a siba. It's a reason that she gets mazonos because she's still, quote unquote, married to the guy, even though he's dead. However, we learn from this Gemara that the ksuba is not a siba, the ksuba is a siman. It's a siman that she's still attached to her husband's estate. Once she shows us that she's not attached to us, it's not the ksuba is the reason. It's a siman for something else. What is the reason? The reason is that she's attached, she's theoretically remaining in his estate. But not because of the ksuba. It's a siman. As long as she has the ksuba, then she gets mazonos. But once she even demands her ksuba, it shows that she's really not part of her husband's estate anymore. She has moved on in life, right? There's 2 types of widows, right? Widows, they lose their husband, and like my mother-in-law, she said she never wants to get remarried again. She said my father-in-law passed away a little more than 3 years ago. He was 67. I mean, she was also 67. She said, "That's it. I'm done. I'm not getting married." 67 is not so old, And then there's other women that their husband passed away and they want to get remarried. My aunt, uh, my father's brother passed away pretty young, late 60s, and his wife remarried a couple years later. She lives in Los Angeles now. She's living it up in LA. So uh, women generally have that point. Either like my mother-in-law, she's never really moved on. She's still tied to the estate. And really, my brother-in-laws have to feed her and pay for her grocery bills. They don't know that, but they should be paying for her grocery bills. It's hard for her, Parnassa, because she really, the main Parnassa in the family was from my father-in-law, who worked as a Rebbe in the Iyun. So it's hard for her with Parnassa. She's getting supported by brother-in-laws. I don't know if she does, but and so that's one type of widow. And the other type of widow, when you're moving on, so once you show that you want to detach yourself from the estate of your husband, right? The Gemara has suggestions, even if she puts on makeup or something like that, or she goes on dates. I don't know. It has to be a substantial decision to move on, a monetary decision to move on. It has to be, when you're demanding your ksuba, because having that money of the ksuba, or using your ksuba to secure a loan, it's monetarily is really the only way where you're showing that you're really moving on from your husband's estate. It has to be a monetary disconnect from your husband's estate. Even if you don't actually collect the ksuba, you demand the ksuba, you come to base to demand the ksuba. That's already filed in court, so it's very easier to get the money. So once you move on from your husband's estate financially, that is the determining point in when you're no longer part of the estate anymore, and you're no longer entitled to mazonos from that estate. Hope you enjoyed today's shir. I hope it enlightened you. If it didn't enlighten you, turn on a light, put some light in your room, and listen to the shir again with the light on. How is it going to enlighten you without the light on? Just joking. Have a good day. Be well. Bye.